A very warm welcome to Vienna, to the first of a series of tours in this wonderful city. We're here about 2 kilometers south of the historic city at the Belvedere, the Upper Belvedere. The Upper Belvedere is a palace which refers a little bit to Versailles. It was built in the 1720s for a very important man, Prince Eugene of Savoy. The Belvedere Palace hosts one of the most important art collections. It's the Austrian Art Gallery, and we will show it to you in a moment inside. We're here in the function hall of the Upper Belvedere, the Marble Hall. And the hall is a delight of marble and also colorful frescoes. And it's a famous location because here was the State Tree designed in 1955. So that's what is, let's say, one of the main historical sites here. But come with me to a wonderful room where we can see some of the highlights of the gallery of Gustav Klimt's artwork. Well, we're here in front of the most important painting of this wonderful gallery, the Upper Belvedere in Vienna. The title is The Kiss, and the author of this painting is Gustav Klimt. Gustav Klimt, he was born here in Vienna in 1862 and he died in 1918. And one of the most important things he said was, "I never make a self-drawing, no selfies, not at all, I don't like that." Gustav Klimt, he was one of the most important painters for women in Vienna, of all the ladies of the high society. This is Sonja Knips. He painted this at the end of the 19th century. And look at her wonderful face and the difference of brushes that he used for the various parts in the composition. And even the frame is part of the artwork. Well, Gustav Klimt's oeuvre, he loved nature, as I said. And if you look over here, you can see this blooming nature. He said that heaven or like God is in nature. And that's why he did hardly ever paint also the horizon. So you see only nature itself. He painted in the area of Lake Attersee, which is in, let's say, the center of Austria, nearby Salzburg. And it's sort of like a mosaic of stroke, his technique. And he did not want to be like an impressionist, so he did not paint in plein air. He painted in the studio. And it was not about the light reflections, but it was about the color itself. Here in the entrance situation of the Upper Belvedere, we can really understand that Prince Eugene was a man of the army, but also an art collector and an art lover. Look at the splendor here around in this wonderful entrance situation. Okay, here we're on another highlight of the museum, and that's Egon Schiele's artwork. Egon Schiele was only 28, but he made so many wonderful paintings. And you can see that he's quite different from Gustav Klimt. It's very expressive. He was an expressionist artist. And we can see here like a pendant to the Kiss of Gustav Klimt. It shows Egon Schiele himself. He was actually a selfie master. It shows him with Vali. She was for a couple of years his model and also lover. When Egon Schiele got separate, he decided, well, already actually before, that he loves another woman, and that was Edith, and they got married. And this is the last painting which is left unfinished. You can see by looking at his left hand, it is not completed because they both died when she was pregnant with this baby. He painted there, this young little kid. They died within 3 days of the Spanish flu in October 1918. The year when it seemed that the world ended of the empire, and also many artists like Klimt and Schiele, etc., had died in that year 1918. But it was also a beginning of a new world here in Vienna. Look at these very rich details of the facade of the Belvedere. The author of the Belvedere, the architect Lucas von Hillebrand, he was actually the highest requested architect of the upper class of the aristocracy in the 1700s in Vienna. So it was a must, let's say, architect. If you had Lucas von Hillebrand, you could be sure that you are, let's say, having the best kind of architecture.
Prince Eugene had actually a book published with all the details, outside, inside, gardens of his palace. So it made a lot of publicity. So it would be like on Pinterest nowadays. And everybody wanted to have this kind of palace like Prince Eugene here in Vienna. So if you look at the details, you would be able to walk around and see more than 20 different variations of how he decorated just the windows around. Isn't this amazing? And you can see also the many trophies up there and statues. And the trophies especially refer to the fact that he was a man in the army. So this was really very important. The architecture of the Upper Belvedere is very rich. So it's a very playful kind of Baroque. It's 1720s. In just a couple of years, this palace was built. And Lucas von Hillebrand, he was usually so fast that sometimes things were breaking down. Actually, the Sala Terrena inside there, it collapsed. So they had to rebuild it because it was built too fast. Here we're at the point of the Upper Belvedere where you can see why it is called Belvedere, the beautiful view, because we can see the beautiful view from up of a hill down to the city of Vienna and even to the hills of the Vienna woods. Actually, that place over there, the hills of the Vienna woods, are the hills where the career of Prince Eugene started. He was only 20 years young when he fought in the battle against the Ottoman Turks, September 12, 1683. Prince Eugene, he had a wonderful career and was also something like a defense minister, he would be nowadays. And at the end of his life, he died here in Vienna in his winter palace and was buried in St. Stephen's Cathedral. You can see the hills of the Vienna woods where his career started. Nowadays, we care much more about the fact that we can drink wine produced exactly there. We're the only capital in the world where on more than 700 hectares we do have vineyards, and we love to drink the wine, not only ourselves, we also like to share it with you. And the most important wine we produce, like the USP of Viennese wine, is the Wiener Gemischter Satz. It's a field blend. You can even drink it in New York City, just to tell you, and other places in the world. Well, and now we're walking from the Upper Belvedere downhill to the Lower Belvedere. They're both connected. The Upper Belvedere was the party castle, and it is connected to the Lower Belvedere through this wonderful Baroque garden with fountains and figures. In Baroque gardens like here, nature is cut into certain shapes and forms. But there's one really lively element, a lot of movement, and that's the water, also here at the Belvedere. So on the way to the Lower Belvedere, we can discover so many hideaways like here. It's kind of a maze, very typical for Baroque gardens. And look around at how all these trees are cut in a very special way. So the Lower Belvedere, formerly the residence of Prince Eugene, summer residence, is now a location for changing contemporary but all kind of Austrian art exhibitions. And there's also a beautiful extra garden, and walking through this you come to the Orangerie, also a venue for changing art exhibitions of Austrian art.